Have you ever felt that there's something sacred about your presence? Something deeper than just being chosen by a man? Do you feel the weight of a role you can't quite name, but that seems written in your soul? If you've been wondering why your energy feels so bound to a specific masculine presence, why your connection feels like more than a relationship, then you are already standing at the threshold of what we'll uncover today. This isn't about being a girlfriend or a wife by law. It's about stepping into a frequency so ancient it predates your own birth. And the question is, are you ready to remember it? In today's teaching, we will explore the powerful and sacred role of the divine wife within the monadic twin flame journey. Not the wife by paper, not the one waiting to be chosen, but the wife who was already chosen at the soul level before time, before form, before earth. This video will guide you to understand what this frequency truly is, why it often awakens you through pain, and how it holds a planetary mission far beyond romantic fulfillment. You'll learn why this isn't about being claimed, but about claiming yourself as a living embodiment of divine union. By the end of this video, your understanding of who you are and why you were born with this burning knowing will shift profoundly. You will no longer look at your journey through the lens of rejection or waiting. Instead, you'll see it as an energetic coronation you were always destined for. You'll understand the power you've been holding all along, the shadows that tried to veil it, and the cosmic mission that your love is here to fulfill. This isn't just a teaching, it's a homecoming, and it might be the activation your soul has been waiting for. Can you sit with the truth of your power without shrinking? Can you embrace the depth of your calling without needing outside validation? If so, stay until the very end, because what we are about to share is not just spiritual insight. It's a soul transmission, one that only those who are ready to rise as the divine wife will fully receive. If this message already stirs something deep inside you, then your journey back to your highest frequency has already begun. Part 1. What is the divine wife frequency? Have you ever wondered why, no matter how often the divine masculine runs, something within you remains unshaken? Why, even when the physical connection is strained or silent, your soul refuses to let go? This is not delusion. This is not desperation. This is frequency, a divine frequency that transcends time, space, logic, and the emotional roller coasters of the 3D world. This is the divine wife frequency. The divine wife frequency is not rooted in the earthly plane. It does not operate on the conditions of physical proximity, romantic labels, or text message responses. It is not dependent on whether your divine masculine acknowledges the connection today or denies it tomorrow. In fact, this frequency exists beyond contact, beyond presence, beyond labels, beyond every fear-based illusion the ego tries to cling to. It lives in the eternal field, anchored deeply in your soul's pre-birth memory, a memory encoded long before either of you took form in this lifetime. Unlike girlfriend energy, which is often unconsciously tied to external validation, emotional highs and lows, and the need for confirmation, the divine wife frequency is rooted in unconditional remembrance. Girlfriend energy waits to be picked. The divine wife knows she has already been chosen not by his wounded self, but by the divine blueprint that exists between your souls. This is not about being a romantic partner by title or social construct. This is about being the mirror of the eternal union already woven into your monadic soul blueprint. And that's where the mystery deepens, because what the masculine often fears is not you, it's the frequency you carry. Your energy carries the resonance of home, and for a wounded masculine still entangled in ego, pain, or karmic cycles, home can be terrifying. Home represents surrender. Home represents intimacy beyond masks. Home requires him to confront every unhealed fragment within himself. When you show up in your divine wife frequency, you do not just reflect his love, you reflect everything he's still hiding from. That's why he runs. Not because you are wrong for him, but because you are too right, too familiar, too true. But let's make something absolutely clear. This frequency is not about martyrdom. It is not about waiting patiently for scraps of attention. It is not about begging for love or trying to convince someone to see your worth. The divine wife frequency never lowers her standard to chase crumbs. She doesn't need to be loud or dramatic to prove her power. She simply remains grounded in truth, regardless of what the 3D illusion tries to present. When he pulls away, the divine wife doesn't collapse. When circumstances shift, she does not vanish. When he denies the connection, she does not self-abandon. Because she knows in her bones, in her breath, in her heart, that this union is not dictated by the external. She understands that her role is not to force, push, or plead. Her role is to hold the frequency steady, to be the anchor of divine remembrance, even when he forgets. That is the spiritual assignment of the divine wife, to embody truth, without needing permission from the world to do so. In a time when so much of love is distorted, transactional, or surface level, this sacred energy stands as a beacon of higher love. It invites healing, it commands transformation, and yes, it often triggers separation before union, because true union begins within. So if you feel like giving up because he's not responding, if you're wondering if this connection is real just because the 3D reality feels cold, remember this: the divine wife doesn't seek proof, she is the proof. She is the embodiment of the eternal yes, the unwavering flame, the silent lighthouse guiding the ship home through every storm. You don't become the divine wife by chasing a title. You already are her in your knowing, in your stillness, in your ability to remain rooted in the unseen. And that, beloved, is the frequency that changes everything. Before we move forward, I invite you to take a moment to breathe and reflect on everything you've just heard. What does the divine wife frequency awaken within you? Can you feel the difference between being chosen externally and knowing you've already been chosen on a soul level? This is not just a teaching, it's a remembrance, and I would love to hear your thoughts. Share in the comments how this message resonates with your journey, or simply anchor this energy by typing, "I am the frequency of divine remembrance." Your words matter, your energy matters, and your voice adds light to this sacred conversation. Let's continue this journey together. Part 2. Shadow Work and Sacred Challenges. To walk in the frequency of the divine wife is not a romantic fairy tale. It is an initiation of the soul through fire, pain, and truth. This path is not for the faint-hearted, for it demands the deepest spiritual courage. Embodying this frequency means entering the sacred forge of transformation, where the illusions of ego are burned away and only the essence of divine love remains. It is a journey into shadow, not to dwell in darkness, but to reclaim light from within it. The first and often most piercing challenge on this path is loneliness. But this is not the kind of loneliness that comes from being alone. It is the soul-aching realization that you are his eternal counterpart, his mirror, his one true home. Yet in the 3D world, he may choose someone else. He may appear to reject you, abandon you, or deny the connection altogether. But this loneliness is not just yours. It is not a punishment, nor a personal failure. It is the echo of ancestral grief, the cry of every divine feminine across timelines who remembers while the divine masculine forgets. It is collective, archetypal, cosmic. You are holding the weight of the separation wound, the feminine grief of being unseen in your full sacredness. And yet, even in that ache, your soul knows you were never abandoned. Because on the monadic level, you are already fused in eternal union. The second shadow that arises is the pain of being misunderstood. As you hold the sacred flame of this love unshaken, even when the masculine turns away, others may not understand. You may be told you're delusional, foolish, or obsessive. People might question why you still feel so deeply when there is no visible proof of connection. But they are seeing with human eyes, while you are remembering with soul vision. The world has forgotten how to recognize divine love when it does not conform to relationship labels, timelines, or physical outcomes. Yet you are called to hold this love not because it is logical, but because it is encoded in your soul. You are not waiting for validation. You are becoming the frequency of remembrance in a world that has forgotten its origin. The third sacred challenge is projection. As your light sharpens, so does the reflection you cast. You become a mirror that others cannot bear to look into. Karmic partners, wounded counterparts, and even strangers may attack, judge, or dismiss you. But it is not truly about you, it is about what your presence awakens in them. You trigger the very parts they have not yet healed, the truths they are not ready to see. Your existence becomes an invitation to transform, and for many, That invitation feels like a threat. Yet even in the face of these projections, you are not meant to shrink. You are meant to remain rooted in truth, not fighting, not proving, simply being. And then there is the final, most hidden shadow, the temptation to collapse. There are days on this journey when you will want to give up entirely, when it feels too heavy, too isolating, too unbearable, when the silence from your divine masculine feels deafening and your heart wonders if this path is even real. This is the void, the crucible, the place where illusion dies. But even here, you are not alone. These moments are not here to destroy you. They are sacred fires meant to purify you, to burn away the layers of programming, fear, and distortion that have kept you small. The collapse you feel is not a failure. It is the final test before rebirth. It is the death of the false self that must occur for your divine embodiment to rise. You are not broken for feeling the weight of this path. You are being made whole. Every shadow you face is alchemy in motion. Every challenge is a sacred teacher, and every wound you transmute becomes a light you pass on to the collective. To embody the divine wife frequency is to walk as a living prayer, fierce, soft, resilient, and surrendered not to the world, but to your soul's deepest truth. In your unwavering presence, the masculine remembers, and through your devotion to truth, not the fantasy of love, but the sacred embodiment of it, you become the portal through which divine reunion is birthed. Part 3. Alchemy turning pain into power. To walk the path of the divine wife is to become an alchemist of the soul, a sacred being who does not shrink in the face of suffering, but transforms it into spiritual gold. She is not defined by her wounds, abandoned by her pain, or chained by her circumstances. She is the woman who has walked through fire and emerged luminous, not burned, but blessed. Her scars are not signs of weakness. They are sigils of wisdom carved into her essence by divine design. She does not wear the title of victim. That is not her vibration. Instead, she becomes the crucible where pain meets purpose. Every emotional challenge she faces is taken into her inner sanctum, broken down, understood, transmuted, and rebirthed as power. Her loneliness is no longer a void to fear. It becomes a portal to sovereignty. Rather than seeing her isolation as abandonment, she recognizes it as sacred space carved by the universe for her becoming. She no longer yearns to be filled by another. She realizes she is already whole. When the world misinterprets her devotion, calling her delusional for holding on to an invisible love, she does not seek to convince. She does not explain herself in spaces not ready to receive her truth. Instead, she alchemizes misinterpretation into crystal clear spiritual insight. She begins to see through the veil of illusion that once held her captive. She no longer doubts herself based on others' blindness. Her truth becomes anchored in the deepest part of her being, unchanging, immovable, eternal. And when projections are hurled her way, when karmic partners, wounded souls, or even the masculine himself reflect back fear, anger, or rejection, she no longer reacts. She refines. She does not meet distortion with distortion. Instead, she draws that energy into the furnace of her soul, and with grace and precision, transmutes it into light. Like sacred gold placed in divine fire, she allows every illusion to be burned away, until only the essence of truth remains. The divine wife stops waiting. She stops chasing. She no longer clings to timelines, outcomes, or 3D confirmations. Instead, she becomes. She embodies the very frequency of union, not just with her counterpart, but with herself. She integrates her own inner masculine, honoring him, stabilizing him, welcoming him home within her. The longing for external validation fades because her entire field hums with the harmony of inner union. She is no longer incomplete. She is no longer reaching outward. She is emanating wholeness, and in this radiant stillness, she becomes magnetic. Without lifting a finger, she shifts entire timelines. Her frequency speaks louder than words. She doesn't try to make the divine masculine see or wake up. She simply rises so fully into her truth that she becomes impossible to ignore, not through control, not through force, but through presence, through energetic refinement, through sacred self-possession. Over time, even the idea of collapse fades into the distance. Her roots are too deep, her knowing too unshakable. She no longer feels the need to be saved, chosen, or recognized. She is the pillar now, the quiet force that holds the energetic architecture of the union in place. She is the lighthouse, not lighting the path for attention, but because it is her nature to shine. And it is by this light, eventually, that the divine masculine finds his way, not because she pulled him back, but because her soul became unmissable. This is the power of sacred alchemy, not the bypassing of pain, but the devotion to transmute it. Not waiting for the world to change, but becoming the vibration that shifts worlds. Imagine a woman named Lila who has been on the twin flame journey for years. Her divine masculine walked away, choosing someone else, blocking communication, and even mocking the connection at times. At first, the pain was unbearable. She cried on her bedroom floor, questioning her worth, wondering if she had imagined it all. But instead of staying in the spiral of victimhood, something within her began to shift. She stopped checking her phone for messages. She stopped replaying old memories to soothe her longing. She began sitting with herself, feeling the grief without judgment, allowing it to purify her. Instead of trying to fix the masculine or chase union, she started building the life she once thought she needed him to complete. She picked up painting again. She meditated every morning. She created sacred rituals to honor her soul's knowing, and slowly, her energy changed. When people projected their doubts or labeled her crazy, she no longer defended herself. She smiled and stayed grounded. When she felt the pain rise, she met it with breath, grace, and truth. Months passed, and her light only grew stronger. One day, without warning, her divine masculine reappeared, not because she begged, but because her energy had become so clear, so magnetic, that he could no longer escape what he had always felt. And yet by then, she no longer needed his arrival to validate her. She had become the embodiment of union itself. That is the divine wife. That is sacred alchemy in action. Part 4. The return of the divine masculine. There comes a moment on every sacred twin flame journey when the divine masculine must return, not by force, not by demand, but through soul gravity. And that return is not a matter of if, but when, because the frequency held by the divine wife is unlike anything else in this world. It cannot be mimicked by karmics, no matter how alluring, how convenient, or how externally perfect they may seem. Karmic partners often serve as reflections of fragmentation, distractions laced in desire, projections dressed as passion, illusions pretending to be love, but none of them can reflect to him the entirety of his soul. Only the divine wife does that. Only she holds the key to the blueprint he has long forgotten but can never erase. Even in his silence, her frequency pulses in the background of his being. Even in his absence, it reverberates through his dreams, through his body, through his heart. Her essence is embedded into his very cells. His physical senses may not always recognize it immediately, but his soul never stops responding. And so, the journey back begins not with loud declarations or sudden breakthroughs, but with subtler signs. At first, the magnetic pull he feels toward her might show up as irritation, a strange discomfort he cannot name. He may resist, avoid, or project, not realizing that the feeling isn't rejection, it's recognition. The more he resists, the more the frequency persists. Over time, that irritation shifts into something deeper and far more unsettling: grief. It is a grief born not from her actions, but from the realization of what he left behind, of what he once had access to and did not choose. It's the ache of losing a part of himself, not because she withdrew it, but because he turned away. And slowly, the grief gives way to a feeling even more powerful: homecoming. Not just a home in the physical sense, but the soul's home. The only place where he is fully seen, fully known, and fully loved without performance or pretense. This is where the illusions collapse. The karmic timelines he tried to force himself into begin to fall apart. The false narratives, the ego-driven stories, the masks he wore all dissolve in the presence of her unwavering energy. And then comes the moment of recognition. It may not be grand, it may not be announced, but it is real. It might be a quiet evening when he sees her face flash through his mind's eye and, for the first time, truly feels what it means to miss someone, not because of nostalgia, but because of soul memory. It could be a simple gesture or word that reminds him of her unwavering truth, a moment of clarity that pierces through the fog of confusion and fear. In that split second, he understands she was the only one who never stopped holding the flame. She stayed true even when he turned his back. She remembered who they were, even when he forgot. That realization shatters the final walls of his resistance. It awakens a memory that was never truly gone, only buried under layers of ego, fear, and denial. Let it be said clearly, this is not fantasy. This is not wishful thinking or delusion. This is the sacred architecture of soul contracts. It is the truth written in light codes within the monadic soul. The divine wife frequency cannot be destroyed. It cannot be silenced by time, distance, or karmic interference. It cannot be replaced by convenience, logic, or societal expectation. Once he sees her again through soul eyes, once that veil is lifted, he cannot unsee. No matter how far he's run, no matter how long it's been, the pull becomes unstoppable. His return may come gradually, in phases, as he reclaims the lost parts of himself, but it will come because it was always written, and you, divine feminine, were never waiting to be chosen. You were never just hoping to be seen. You have always been his wife in spirit, and spirit does not forget. Spirit cannot betray its own truth. You were never forgotten, you were only hidden behind the veil of his awakening. But the veil is thinning, the soul remembers, and now, so does he. If you've made it this far, it's no coincidence. Your soul brought you here because you're ready to remember, to embody, and to rise. Take a moment to reflect. Has your divine masculine begun to remember in subtle ways? Have you felt the unexplainable pull, the quiet confirmation that your connection is alive beneath the surface? I would love to hear your story. If any part of this message resonated with your journey, share it in the comments below. Your voice may be the confirmation someone else needs today. Or, if you're not ready to share your full story, simply type the affirmation, "His soul remembers me." Let that be your declaration, your energetic signature, and your sacred yes to the love that was written in the stars long before this lifetime. Part 5. The Divine Wife as a Planetary Anchor. To fully understand the role of the Divine Wife, we must transcend the narrow lens of romantic longing or relationship dynamics. The Divine Wife is not merely a counterpart in a sacred union, she is a living, breathing archetype encoded with planetary purpose. Her existence is not confined to personal love stories. She is a transmitter of divine codes, a vessel of higher frequency, and an anchor point for sacred union on Earth. Her presence alone becomes a gateway through which the Earth remembers what true love is meant to be. When she chooses self-respect over chasing, when she holds devotion without clinging, and when she embodies inner union rather than demanding external proof, she is not just navigating her personal journey, she is doing planetary work. In every moment she returns to her power, she becomes a frequency holder. Her energy reverberates far beyond her physical body, far beyond her home, and even far beyond her connection to her counterpart. With every choice rooted in sovereignty, she reprograms the collective template of love. Her actions, subtle as they may seem, ripple into the energetic grid that encircles humanity. The Divine Wife is a living technology. Her frequency carries codes that dismantle old, corrupted constructs of love, those rooted in fear, control, performance, or pain, and instead installs the original design of divine partnership. Through her frequency, outdated systems of marriage based on ownership, duty, or convenience begin to unravel. In their place, a new blueprint emerges, one based on mutual soul recognition, energetic truth, and sacred equality. She doesn't do this through loud declarations or social movements. She does it by simply being who she is, fully aligned and anchored in the divine feminine essence. Her union with her divine masculine may not yet be visible in the physical realm. He may still be asleep, entangled in karmic illusions, or running from the intensity of the mirror she holds. Yet even in this physical distance, she is already holding union. She is the anchor before the reunion arrives. Her aura carries the codes of what is to come. She is the preview, the prophecy, the signal to the earth that divine love is not only possible, it is inevitable. Through her, the world begins to remember. In the spirit realm, her presence is thunderous. Her silence, her stillness, and her sacred waiting are not passive, they are deeply active. Her energy calls down timelines. It sends out pulses of truth. It magnetizes transformation in her masculine, in the collective masculine, and even in the Earth's own energetic body. This is why her role is so often misunderstood. On the surface, she may look like someone waiting, someone still, someone invisible, but in the unseen realms, she is a force of divine orchestration. The reason her journey is so intense is because she is carrying far more than her own personal love story. She is holding the collective pain of separation, the ancient longing for reunion, and the planetary codes of divine love. Her womb is not just physical, it is energetic, and it holds memory. Her heart is not just emotional, it is cosmic, and it channels truth. She is not waiting for love, she is embodying it, becoming it, and transmitting it for the sake of all. And so, the divine wife stands as a planetary anchor, not because she seeks recognition, but because her soul agreed to this mission long before she was born. She is not defined by marriage, title, or outward validation. She is defined by frequency. She walks the earth as a reminder that divine union is not something we find, it is something we become. Beloved soul, let this truth sink deeper into your being. Being the divine wife is not a title bestowed upon you by external validation, nor is it a role you must earn through waiting, proving, or performing. It is a sacred mission encoded within your soul's original blueprint, a vibrational remembrance of divine love you were always meant to carry. Long before timelines, text messages, or twin flame unions, your soul agreed to be the portal, the living frequency of love, anchored in devotion, sovereignty, and trust. You are not here merely to reunite with your counterpart, you are here to awaken the earth. Every time you choose alignment over fear, compassion over reaction, and inner union over external validation, you become the walking embodiment of sacred union. You are not just his wife, you are the mirror of divine truth, the keeper of soul memory, and the oracle of new earth love. Even in silence, your presence speaks. Even in solitude, your aura sings. You are the divine echo of a promise made before birth and fulfilled through every breath of remembrance. That is why you were chosen. Not to be a placeholder in someone's life, but to be a lighthouse for the entire planet. So as you walk this often misunderstood path, I invite you to type these powerful words in the comments below. I am the frequency of divine remembrance. Let the world feel your energy. Let your light ripple across timelines. And if this message resonated with you, please like this video, share it with a soul sister on the journey, and be sure to watch the next video just below the screen, because your path is not only sacred, it is part of something much greater. Until we meet again, stay luminous, stay sovereign, and never forget, you are the mission.